Now, Jesus used this question about fasting as an opportunity to teach a larger point about his ministry and its relationship to Judaism. Look at verse 16. He says, "No one puts a piece of unshrunk cloth on an old garment, for the patch pulls away from the garment, and the tear is made worse. Nor do they put new wine into old wineskins, or else the wineskins break, the wine is spilled, and the wineskins are ruined. But they put new wine into new wineskins, and both are preserved." Now, some of you may remember when you bought blue jeans with no holes in them. You actually made your own holes in your blue jeans. Today, you pay extra money for holes in your blue jeans. This is what is wrong with this current generation, right? They don't even know how to make holes in their jeans. We need to get back to, somebody hummed the Battle Hymn of the Republic, right? We need to get back to. And it used to be when you got a hole in your jeans, your mom would sew a patch on the hole or iron on a patch on the hole. How many of you remember iron-on patches? How many of you remember that in some cereals, breakfast cereals, they would include a patch as the toy surprise in the box of cereal? I, as a child, ate Cocoa Puffs every single day of my life for breakfast, and I had Cocoa Puff patches on my jeans and my corduroys covering the holes. So here, Jesus says, if you take an unshrunk patch and you sew it onto an old garment that is already shrunk, when you wash it, that patch is going to shrink and then tear the garment, and the tear will be made worse. You can't sew an unshrunk patch onto an old garment. Neither do you put new wine into old wineskin. Now, in those days, they would use the skin of a goat or a lamb to make a container to hold wine. Maybe for the next men's breakfast, we could do a little craft. Women always do crafts at their events. Men never seem to do crafts. Maybe we could butcher some goats out in the parking lot and make some wine skins. Just an idea. But we, of course, would put grape juice in those wine skins. Welch's. New wine, then, is put into a new wineskin. And what happens is as the wine ferments, it expands, it gives off gas, and it expands, and it would stretch the wineskin. And an old wineskin then is already stretched. So if you put new wine into an old wineskin, that old wineskin won't stretch as the wine ferments and expands. And that old wineskin will break, and the wine will spill, the wineskin will be ruined. And so you put new wine into a new wineskin that is still flexible and can expand with the wine. Now, what is Jesus saying here? He's saying he's not patching up the existing religious system of Judaism. He's not just putting a patch on it and covering the holes. The existing system can't be patched up. It can't be repaired. It can't be fixed. It's beyond repair. The old system that exists can't contain what Jesus was ushering in. So Jesus is saying, I'm making something entirely new that's outside of this existing system. It's new wine for a new wineskin. But here's the thing. I want you to give me your attention. Jesus is not talking about setting aside the law of Moses. He's not talking about setting aside the Old Testament. The law is not the old wineskin. That is how this is often interpreted. The law is not the old wineskin. Romans chapter 7, verse 12 says, the commandments are holy, just, and good. There's nothing wrong with the commandments. There's nothing wrong with the law. The law is holy, just, and good. Jesus said, I did not come to destroy the law of Moses, but to fulfill the law of Moses. The old wineskin is not the law. It's not the Old Testament. The old wineskin is the religious system the Jewish people have created for themselves that is really based on rabbinical traditions and man-made rules and regulations. It's this man-made thing that they've created. That's what he's setting aside. That's what's beyond repair. In the Gospels, these rules and regulations are referred to as the traditions of the elders or the traditions of men. I'll just show you one example real quick. Turn over to chapter 15 of Matthew. Chapter 15. Look at verse 1. Now the scribes and Pharisees who were from Jerusalem came to Jesus saying, "Why do your disciples transgress the tradition of the elders?" They're man-made rules. They're rabbinical rules. "For they do not wash their hands when they eat bread." Now look what Jesus says in verse 3. He answered and said to them, "Why do you also transgress the commandment of God because of your tradition?" The Jews had these traditions and these rules and regulations that came from their rabbis, and the Jews called this the oral law. They still call it the oral law today. So you had the written law from Moses, then you had this oral law, this set of rules that came from their rabbis. Today it's codified in what's called the Mishnah. These are all man-made rules that you must keep. And here's what happened. Over time, within Judaism, the traditions and the rules superseded the Bible. They became more important than what the Bible actually says. Fasting is just one example. Again, as I said a few minutes ago, the Bible says to the Jewish people, you must fast 1 day a year. The rabbinical rules say you must fast 104 days a year. And those rabbinical rules, that oral law, became more important than the actual Bible. And Jesus and the religious leaders get in conflict over this in the Gospels. And the oral law has thousands of rules like this.